This is the new Mercedes CLA, and it's a bit like Hannibal, the cannibal from Silence of the Lambs, because it's going to eat into sales of its bigger brother, the C-Class. You see, it starts from just under £31,000. It looks absolutely gorgeous and very expensive, but you can save an average of just over £3,500 off one through CarWow. So if you want to see how much money you can save on a new car, click on the pop-out banner up there or follow the link below the video to go to CarWow to check out the best deals from our trusted dealers. Let's start this review by talking about the CLA's design, because after all, that's what this car's about, because it's a good looking thing. Back end looks good, side looks very good, front looks good as well. And as standard in the UK, you get an AMG body kit because it starts with the AMG line version. And check this out, frameless doors, yes, like a coupe, both front and back, swooping roofline as well. Of course, 18-inch alloys and upwards if you need them bigger. And at the front, you've got like a pinched face, like angry looking eyes, and that pin style grille. Love it, love it, love it. I also love the interior design. Now, it's effectively the same as the A-Class because they're basically the same car. It's just that this is the saloon, the A-Class is the hatchback. And this dash design has to be one of the best ever created on a current modern car. I like the fact that it's stepped, it just makes it interesting. I like the fact you've got leatherette on the dash as well, on the door tops. The sport seats, they look cool as well, and I like the fact that you can have this two-tone leather effect. Materials on the dash, soft and squidgy. You've got expensive feeling metal trim here about the place, and there's more shiny bits throughout the cabin. The sporty steering wheel is gorgeous as well. I like this gloss black trim down here. The only problem with this stuff is that it scratches super easily, and that brings me on to some of the things I'm not so keen on. For instance, some of the things you touch actually feel quite cheap, and the scratchy plastics down here, the plastics on here and here are just awful. There's more scratchy bits here, and it's quite scratchy down there as well. The control stalks for the gear selector and the windscreen wipers feels cheap. And while this interior does look beautiful, the quality isn't as good as on the new BMW 1 Series. And if you want to see my video of that car, click on the pop-out banner up there or follow the link below the video. But I can forgive everything because of these screens. And that brings me onto this car's equipment list. The CLA range starts with the MG line, and it has a 10-inch touchscreen with satellite navigation and a 7-inch digital driver's display. Heated seats and dual zone climate control. Next trim up is the AMG line Premium, which adds ambient lighting, of which there are many different colours, keyless entry, and a larger 10-inch digital driver's display instead of the 7-inch standard one you get. Plus, you also get augmented reality for the satellite navigation, which superimposes graphical images over a live camera feed of the road ahead. It also gets a big glass roof that opens, and something called Energising Coach, which alters the air conditioning, the ambient lighting and the music from the stereo depending on your mood. Finally, there's the AMG line Premium Plus, which upgrades the normal LED headlights to adaptive ones that are designed not to dazzle other drivers. Anyway, let's continue with the review, talking about the infotainment systems in particular. The displays are absolutely gorgeous. They're bright, they're clear, the graphics are crisp. You can use the central display as a touchscreen or scroll through its menus using the touchpad on the center console, or the left touch-sensitive button on the steering wheel if you want. There's also voice commands too, but they're not quite as good as those in the latest BMWs. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
I'm too hot.
Temperature is 20 degrees.
Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are easy to set up and use for music streaming, or Waze or Google Maps, which, to be honest, are better for dodging the jams than Mercedes' own built-in sat-nav. To be fair though, this is easy to use when it comes to inputting a destination and adding a waypoint. Now let's move on to the digital driver's display. Once again, absolutely gorgeous. And you can change the design of the dials if you want to. It's all controlled using the right-hand side steering wheel button, and you can show loads of information, including the Navi map, though annoyingly it can't show Google Maps nor Waze. Now overall, I think the system's pretty much as good as BMW's iDrive, though I prefer it because it has that Android Auto, so I can connect my own personal Samsung phone up to it. Thank goodness for that. In terms of the rest of the connectivity, in here you've got some USB ports and you have a 12-volt socket. There's also a wireless charging pad there. There's a couple more USB ports in there. The only thing is they're all USB-C, so you have to use this special connector because I don't have a USB-C to USB-C cable, though they're not all that expensive really. Storage-wise, in addition to this space here, you have an okay-ish size glove box. There's some cup holders here, so fine for a coffee. And you might think that's a bit too big, isn't it, for my energy drink? Well, if you press that button, a little bit sticks out to hold it a touch tighter. The door bins are big enough for a 750ml bottle, which is good. The seating position in the car is actually pretty good, so the seat does go nice and low. The only problem is that headroom isn't the greatest in the front, so if you like to have your chair up high, or if you're tall, you may end up like, oh no, that's not good, like that. Yeah, that's really not good. I think I'll just hurt my neck. There's plenty of adjustment, thankfully, in the steering wheel. That is quite a lot, so you can get comfy behind the wheel quite easily. And you've got this extra little bit on the seats there, so you can extend it out for some more under thigh support, which is nice. So it's reasonably practical here in the front. Unfortunately, the CLA isn't as practical in the back as it is in the front. The main problem is that sloping roofline that makes the car look so cool. But I don't look so cool now, do I? My head pressed up against the ceiling, and I'm not even 6 foot. It's not great. Knee room is all right, and even with the front seat slammed, you can just about squeeze your feet underneath it. The real problem though is that they've actually situated the seat quite low to try and counteract that sloping roofline, and as a result you feel like you're in a weird kind of stress position. There's no under thigh support. It's really not that comfy. Now if you want to carry 3 in the back at once, yep, it's even worse. The middle seat is raised up. There's obviously a lump in the floor, so you have to straddle that, and the footwells aren't really that big, so everyone does start to fight for foot space. Also, because the car isn't the widest and the sides actually arc in slightly, people on the outer 2 seats will be pushed outwards and they'll just be bashing their head off the roofline. It's not great for carrying rear passengers, this car. Wouldn't matter so much if they're small, though the high window line means that you don't get a great view out, and it is quite dark back here. Thankfully though, look, the windows do go all the way down if that matters to you. And there are some other useful practical features, such as the door bins are big enough for another 750ml bottle. You've got some storage nets here and here. There are 2 extra USB-C ports there for charging your stuff. And with the premium model you do get a fold down armrest with a couple of cup holders, which is handy, but the entry level car doesn't have that. Oh well. We have some, if I can do it, through loading, which is useful if you need to carry longer items and you still need to carry 2 people in the back at once. What's not so good is fitting a child seat in this car. The main reason is that it's quite hard to get it in through the narrow doors because they don't open very wide. Also, you have to move the front seat quite a bit forward to get a rear-facing child seat inside. At least the Isofix anchor points are easily located and don't have covers. However, if you do fit 2 child seats, you won't be able to fit an adult in between them because there's just not enough space. So the mother-in-law will have to stay at home. Oh dear. Anyway, let's talk about the boot. The outright capacity isn't that much less than a C-Class, and it is bigger than an Audi A3 saloon. Also, the opening's kind of wide-ish for a saloon, so you do have a lip to lift stuff over, but it's not too bad. And there's some extra underfloor storage, but really, you're not going to fit much in there, are you? Unless you want to carry some pieces of A4 paper, because it's quite shallow. There's some tethering points here and here. Oh, actually, you can fold down the rear seats. Though, yeah, you have to lean in to do it. Go on, there we go. And then you can slide things to the front like that. Now, how much can you fit into this car's boot? Well, with the seats folded, you can fit 2 large boxes on the rear seats and then 6 small boxes in the boot itself. A bike will fit, but you'll have to remove the front wheel to get it in. With the rear seats in place, you can fit 2 large suitcases in there, 2 small suitcases, and a couple of soft bags, or 6 small boxes. A set of golf clubs will also just about fit, and so too will a pushchair. But if you need a bit more practicality, but you generally like the look of this car, then check out the A-Class hatchback. In fact, click on there, that pop-out banner, or on the link below the video to watch my review of that car. Anyway, on to 5 annoying things about the CLA. The front seat headrests are angled in a bit too far, and they bulge as well, so it kind of promotes you to sit in a really bad posture. You end up all hunched. Annoyingly, you can't even alter that angle, so you're stuck with it. For some reason, there is no skip track button on the steering wheel for the stereo like there is in most cars, so you have to go through the main infotainment system, and it just takes a bit longer. The grab handle for the boot is blooming useless, so you just end up grabbing the boot lid and then getting crap all over your hands. Mercedes are always trying to fake it, but they won't kid the car wow stick of truth. So yeah, fake diffuser, fake air vent, and worst of the worst, fake exhaust. The way these cool looking door handles stick out a bit, if you suddenly slam the door and your knee's in the wrong place, it can bash against it.
Thankfully, this car has plenty of cool features to help make up for all this. Here's 5.
The CLA's swooping bodywork is so aerodynamic it creates no more wind resistance than a velodrome cyclist. If you press up twice on resume for the cruise control, it'll automatically set the car's speed to the speed limit of the road you're currently driving on. While the CLA may be based on the A-Class, it actually has more sophisticated rear suspension. Also, the suspension is stiffer and lower slightly, and the distance between the wheels across an axle is slightly wider as well at the front and at the back, and all that is designed to help make the car feel more sporty to drive. When you increase the temperature of the climate control, the ambient lighting around the air vent glows red. When you cool it down, it glows blue. If it's dark and you reach across into the passenger side to try and find something, a little light will illuminate so you can see what you're doing. Good job too, because otherwise I'd have never been able to find this. The CLA is meant to be a posh car, and that's why you can only get it with an automatic gearbox. You can also get certain versions with four-wheel drive, though most cars are front-wheel drive. The engine choices include a 1.3 litre petrol in 2 states of tune and a 2 litre petrol in various states of tune. There's also a 2 litre diesel. Now, for full details and performance figures and economy figures, click on the pop-out banner up there to go to CarWow to see the range, because there's far too much for me to explain here. You get very, very bored. Now, this particular car is a CLA 200 Premium Plus package. The starting price of this car would be just over £35,000, but I put the details into the CarWow configurator. You can save an average of just over £3.5 grand off one. So why don't you head to CarWow and try out the configurator yourself on this car or any car. See how much you can save. The CLA's slightly sportier suspension setup over the normal A-Class means it's not quite so good over bumps when you're just bimbling about round town, but it's still comfortable enough. Also, the steering is super light, the automatic gearbox does its thing, and it's generally quite a pleasant thing to just pootle around in. The manoeuvrability is all right as well, though the turning circle isn't quite as good as on something like an Audi A3 Saloon, but there's not much in it. However, if you want to see my in-depth video review of the Audi A3 Saloon, just click on the pop-out banner up there to watch the video. You might think that a low-slung car such as this would be an absolute pig to park, but it's surprisingly easy. So the back window is fairly large, which means that you can see where you're aiming the car, but really you don't need to look out of it. You just use the standard fit parking sensors and the brilliant reversing camera, and it just lets you know exactly how close you are to objects all around the entire car. You're all watching going, I could have done that much better. But here we go. Just gives you so much confidence, that camera system. Finally, voila. I do love the fact that it's so easy to go from reverse into drive and reverse again, just using the column mounted gear selector. See, super duper easy. When you get out on the motorway, this thing can hold its own. It's actually very, very planted, and it's not bad for long distance work. This one has a 1.3 litre turbo engine in, and it's actually all right. So I'm doing 50 miles an hour, I'm gonna floor the throttle, gearbox responds well, and it pulls okay. There's 70, and
What do you want to do?
once again, I have it every time. Chimes in, ruins my piece to camera. What I was trying to say was that when you rev the engine hard, it does start to make quite a bit of noise. What I can't fault it for, though, is the economy. So this thing is returning 50 miles per gallon, which is actually very good. Now, if I was buying this car, there is one option I'd fit to it, and it's the driving assistance package. So what that includes is a super advanced cruise control system where it'll also steer the car to keep you in lane, and it's very, very good. It's one of the best systems on the market. When you head out onto a twisty road, the CLA does deliver. You flick the driving settings into sports, adds weight to the steering, makes the throttle response sharper, speeds up the shifts from the gearbox, though you can take control yourself, use the paddles. Yes, this little engine kind of gives as good as it can, really. But the whole stability that you get through the car is pretty good, and it's not the sharpest tool in the box. It's not a real sports car, but it does have a slight fun edge to it. You can hoon it about at quite a rate if you want to, and it will grip and go around a corner. And then if you start running wide, you lift off and it just tightens its line. It's actually fairly decent. So then, what's my final verdict on the Mercedes CLA? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should shortlist the CLA. You know, it's a beautiful looking thing, it drives nicely, it's full of tech. It's just not that great for carrying rear passengers. Ooh, where's my cups? Ah! And you can do long distance in it. Ah, no. Ah! Ah! From the engine as it works hard.
What would you like to do?